should anyone stand up for you? Evil exists in the world because good people do nothing about it. But here, as we, the good people, are doing something about it, taking a small step to condemn them, to send a message to ISIS, to send a message to the terrorists that we do not approve them, we do not accept them, they are evil, and we're going to say it, they are evil.
From the America Together Foundation, Michael Ghouse.
If you and I can learn to respect the otherness of other and accept the God-given uniqueness to you and I, then conflicts fade and solutions emerge. Bring about a positive change that you desire to make you feel home. A home is where it's like a mother's lap, where you feel sound, safe, and secure. That is the kind of America you want and I want, and leave a heritage for our children. We have a system in place to safeguard the safety and security and cohesiveness of America.
Radical Islamic terrorists that took out those towers.
You are absolutely right. Go get the radical Islamist terrorists who did it, not the Muslims. 1.5 billion Muslims have nothing to do with this. It is their place of worship and not them. And this sends a very good message to the entire world. I want to hear by a round of applause how uplifting it was for you. So he was there, I was sitting here. 23 other people were sitting across on the benches. Hannity says, I want to do something for you. Would you be happy with it? I said, what is that you want to do? He said, if I did what you have been asking for the last 4 years, would you be happy? I said, what is that you want to say, Sean? And then he said, look, I've been trying to make friends with a Muslim in the last 10 years. I cannot dialogue with Muslims. They fight with me or run away from me. I cannot sit down and have a conversation. And I said back to him, the way you talk to people, nobody wants to be friends with you. Then he turned around and came, why are you friends with me? I said, I have a hope. एक हल्की सी उम्मीद की किरण है that someday you will see my point of view. Then he said, that is the precise reason I want to do this for you. I said, what? He says, you are the only Muslim I know in my life that I can talk to. You and I don't agree with anything, but you listen to me. I know I don't say the right things, but you do listen to me. And I can dialogue with you. I would call you my friend, my only and first Muslim friend. And this is what I'm going to do for you. So what? सारे लोग देख रहे हैं, all people are watching. He says, you've been begging for the last 4 years not to say radical Muslims, radical Islam. This is how he talks. From today, I am going to say, for you, because you have endured me for the last 4 years. He says, I'm going to say radicals among Muslims, radicals in Islam, would you be happy with that? I said, yes, sir. I stood up and gave him a big salute. He was very happy with it, and all those people clapped on it. In the translation, it says, Idina Sirat al-Mustaqim, Sirat al-Ladina anamta alayhim, Ghair al-Maghdubi alayhim, wal-Dhalin. It simply means, in Arabic, you probably did not hear the word Christian or Jew in that Arabic version. It is not there. Hilali Khan translates that God helped me walk the right path, not the path of those who went astray, or not the path who earned your anger by disobeying the laws of gravity, laws of goodness. What did he do? He writes, God helped me walk the right path, not the path of those who went astray like Christians. Although he says in parentheses, but for you as a Christian, that is the only meaning you get. And who have not earned the anger of Jews by God. That is such a bad translation that is not allowed. And unfortunately, most Muslims who read Quran, recite Quran, read it in Arabic and move on with prayers. Just like the Christians recite their prayers in Latin, and many Hebrews who don't know Hebrew recite in Hebrew or Sanskrit chanting without knowing the meaning. Some Muslims are as guilty as anyone. My apology to you and all the Christians and Jews and Hindus around the world for having to read that translation. It is very offensive. It is very offensive. It angers. When I read the translation consciously, it angered me. Said, God, how did we Muslims allow this translation to exist for this long?
So how's that fit in?
Well, we have made some mistakes in the past, and we need to fix them. And our foreign policy, we need to reevaluate. Like Rick Perry was talking when he was about to run, we have to start from scratch. All foreign policy, all funding overseas, we need to start from scratch. We have made, for example, I'll give you one quick example about Iran and Egypt. In 1979, when the people in Iran revolted against Shah of Iran, who was a tyrant, he was forcing people to do things against their will. And we stood with Shah of Iran. At that time, now compare that to Obama again. I'm not a big fan of Obama, but he has done a lot of good things. In Egypt, when Mubarak, the tyrant, was going on and on and on, the Egyptian public were against him. What did Obama do? He told Mubarak to step down. That was the right thing to do. So the message the Egyptians got was that Americans are with us, the people of Egypt, not with the tyrant who is forcing us. They got that message. And let me go back to Iran now. When I love Jimmy Carter, he's one of my most humanitarian presidents, but I think he, whatever situation he was, instead of telling Shah of Iran, hey guy, step down, let people have their own way, work with them, none of this animosity would have ever occurred, because the Iranian people were always good to us, were always friendly with us. They would have seen that, look, America is not with the guy who is oppressing us, they're with us. Then why would they be enemies with us? So we made that mistake, and the similar mistake would have happened if Obama had not told Mubarak to step down. Egyptians are not anti-American. They would have if we had sided with Mubarak. So this is a very clear contrast of how goofy our foreign policy is. And all of us are responsible for it because we are not speaking up. We need to speak up and fix those things. I guess that answers your question. The prime responsibility of government is to defend Americans from external forces and internal. Internal, we got a very good defense, but doing the internal, the biggest enemy is the disease, and we need to be taken care of. The Affordable Care Act is the best thing that has ever happened in our country, and this needs to be preserved and protected every which way we can. It's good to be on Desi TV again. I'm so glad you are here covering this event. It's Unity Day. Unity Day is about bringing all Americans together, whether you're Baha'i, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, Jain, Sikh, Wicca, atheist, pagan, and everyone together to rededicate our pledge for one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. By doing these events repeatedly, we hope to know each other. When we know each other, conflicts fade and solutions emerge. We want to build an America where no American American. No American from any ethnicity, race, religion should be apprehensive of the other. That is the kind of America we want, and I want your support. Take a look, go to the website, americatogether.com, americatogetherfoundation.com, and everything is on it, and the pictures of these events will be there, and thanks Desi Plaza.
That is, in the name of radical Islam.
Well, Megan, first my heart goes out to the victims of the family, and I pray for their well-being. And the statement made by CARE was the correct statement. Islam does mean peace, but some Muslims don't do the right thing. In the United States, we have 318 million Americans. 3 million of them are incarcerated. We all follow the same constitution, same law. 316 million Americans do the right thing. 3 million don't. It doesn't mean the law books are wrong.
But do you think there's no connection to radical Islam here?
And don't make them unfit to live in a pluralistic society. That is going to happen very soon. There will not be a school, there will not be a workplace, there will not be a church where you will not find people of different faiths, races, ethnicities, communities, languages coming together, working together, playing together, and marrying together. And that is going to bound to create conflicts, and we need to prepare ourselves. Like the lady said, we need to learn to know each other. When we know each other, most of the conflicts fade and solutions emerge. And from July 4th, I'm going to request each one of you to invite 3 or 4 people that you don't know, and from other faiths and other races, and celebrate July 4th, celebrate America. Is sometimes misunderstood. It is not missionizing the other person. It is respecting the otherness of others. You are who you are, I am who I am. God has created each one of us to be unique beings. Our own thumbprint, eye print, our DNA is unique, and our taste buds are unique. So each one of us is very unique individual, and that is God's intention. Had God wanted, He could have created all of us precisely alike. He could have made a mold meant to be 6 foot tall, 2-inch nose, 32-inch arm, and punched out 7 billion of us looking exactly alike. Women to be 100 pounds or whatever. But He said, no, I'm going to make you individuals. And then He said, then He understands, being the creator, being a mother understands her children. God understands His creation. He figures, when I'm giving so much uniqueness to each one of them, there is bound to be conflicts for resources, for self-preservation. And then He says, the best ones among you are those who get to know each other. Most of the problems we have between individuals, family members, nations, and communities, because we build myths about the other. We always have the myths about others without ever taking time to know, what is it that I believe about you? I should hear from you what you believe, rather than me telling that this is what Islam is, this is what Hinduism is. So the interfaith dialogue bridges that. You as a Hindu or Zoroastrian or a Christian, Baha'i, you tell me what your faith is. Then I have to accept that. Instead of somebody telling Hinduism is this, no, I would take it from you rather than someone else. So this interfaith dialogue helps people understand the real faith, which is a beautiful faith. Every faith is beautiful, and every faith is intended to bring peace to an individual and create a cohesive society. I agree with Pamela. I think there should be freedom of speech. They should allow her to go speak. If they want to do better than her, they can do it, but they should not stop her from going and speaking there.
Yeah. You know, Mr. Ghouse, if I may add something, last week on another show, you accused me of causing the death of a person in the subway system. That was patently untrue. You owe me an apology. You blamed my ads. My ads were not even up yet. My ads had not even run in the subway. And that was a blood libel, and I know that essentially you're dying to apologize to me, and so I'm going to give you the opportunity to do just that.
Not at all, Pamela. In fact, your ads were up in last September. I was on Fox News when the ads were shown in the subway trains, and I mentioned the dangers of those ads. If someone walks in with a gun, like they did when a Jewish guy said Rosh Hashanah, he was slaughtered.
Why are you accusing her of killing somebody.
I'm not accusing her.
Yes, you
Her
did.
posters caused danger to the people traveling in subway train, and in
Why?
fact there was a guy who got killed
Mr. Ghouse,
for mistaken identity.
My ad said nothing about Muslims. My ad said nothing about Islam. My ad said in any war between the civilized man and the savage, you support the civilized man. Defeat jihad. Support Israel. Are you supporting jihad? Is that what you're saying?
Pamela, I'm not supporting jihad. Nobody's
So
supporting.
we're in agreement.
But
So
that
you owe
was
me
a
an
clever
apology.
way of saying, you mean, no, I don't owe an apology to you. You owe an apology to the people who you are hurting and saying bad things about it.
So now you're saying
owe
that
an
truth.
apology
You're
to
saying
them,
the
not
truth.
me.
You're saying the truth hurts people. Do you see how irrational your logic is?
Truth doesn't hurt people.
Yeah. Yes.
Truth doesn't hurt people.
If you don't
Clever
support
ads
jihad,
do
then you
hurt
support.
people.
If you don't support jihad, then you support my ads. That's it, plain and simple. There was no
That's
Islam
a
in my
wrong way.
ads, and there was no Muslim in my
The world is not
ads.
black and white, Pamela.
What does that
The world is
mean?
not black
What does
and
that
white.
mean?
That
Answer
is
the
too
question.
simplistic
Answer the
attitude.
question. You said you
can't be
didn't
that
support
simplistic.
jihad. How dare you accuse
cannot
me?
be
How dare
simplistic,
you accuse
Pamela.
me of murder? And yet you don't bring up the fact that a devout
didn't
Muslim
accuse you of
threw somebody
murder.
off the subway train. You didn't bring that up.
We need to ask ourselves, it's a very critical question. Am I capable of making friends with people from every faith, ethnicity, religion, and nationality? If I can't do that, if I have bias towards others, if I have difficulty with other fellow Americans, then the problem is not them. Half of the problem is me. I need to shed the bias in me before I ask other people to shed the bias. When all of us shed the bias, we can hope for a better society. We cannot blame Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Judaism, or any religion, because religions don't tell you to do anything wrong. Besides, religion is an intangible entity. You cannot beat religion, you cannot kill religion, you cannot annihilate religion. Religion is not to be blamed. Individuals make mistakes and individuals to be blamed. Every society craves for justice. Human beings are made to be just. Just like materials seek their own balance. When there is injustice in a society, these problems happen. And the only way to do is sit down, listen to each other, and find solutions. We are honored with the presence of congressmen, leaders from the interfaith community, business, civil society, and Muslim organizations and others. We thank each one of you for being here today. And I want to acknowledge our board of directors who have put in a lot of time to come to this point. While I call the name, if you could just stand up and say hello. Tufail Ahmad, Dr. Ishrat Hussain, Khalid Chowdhury, Khaisar Sharif, Shafiq Khan, Dr. Tariq Al-Ghauri, Sajid Ajmeri, and of course, Dr. Akil Rahman and Ambassador Siddiqui are here right with me. And thank you, Congressman. We appreciate your presence, both of you. And we're going to keep the introductions very short to keep the thing moving. I appreciate the interfaith leaders. I've been on Sean Hannity's show for more than 100 times. People ask me, what do you gain by engaging with Sean Hannity or Fox News? My answer is very simple. I go back to Mother Teresa's quote. If you want to bring peace to the world, to the community, to the neighbors and friends, go talk with those who have conflicts. And that is something I have been following, and that is the reason I've been with Hannity. And then they ask, what did you achieve being on this show?
Mike Ghouse is a pluralist, an activist, and commentator who serves as president of the Foundation for Pluralism and America Together Foundations. He's a prolific writer and frequent presence on national and local TV, radio, and print media. He contributes regularly to the Texas Faith column at the Dallas Morning News and to the Huffington Post online, for instance. He also happens to be a Muslim of Indian descent, as may become apparent later, and has spoken around the world at several international conferences as well. Mike has been working tirelessly with me and others for months, literally preparing for this event. There are many reasons why we're thrilled to have Mike as our panel moderator tonight. I'm sure that these will become evident as the evening proceeds. As Mike and others have pointed out many times, an event like this is rare. Some say virtually unprecedented in the U.S., certainly in Houston. So we're indebted to him and the 4 imams serving as fellow panelists for their wisdom and courage in agreeing to engage in this important conversation. And now, without further ado, I'll turn the program over to Mike and the imams.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sabrina. Let's start with the greetings. And I'm going to say a few greetings. You're welcome to repeat after me silently, loudly, or you don't have to. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Namaste. Sat Sri Akal. Hamzor Hama Ashabad. Allah Abho. Thank you. In the greetings, this is the most powerful format of greeting in every religion. Every greeting from a simple hi to Hamazor Hama Ashabad, which is Zoroastrian. 3 components are embedded in each greeting. One is acknowledging the stranger and wanting to connect with the stranger and possibly a friendship. Those 3 components are embedded in all religious and social greetings. When I say Assalamu alaikum to you, what do you say? What it simply means is, may you be drenched and soaked in peace. And when you say the same thing back to me, you're also urging me to be soaked in peace. So together, when we sit down and have a conversation, whatever we produce, it has got a good foundation of peace. And that's what all the religious greetings simply mean. Tonight's program, as Mike had mentioned, it is very unique. There is a lot of interfaith dialogue going on. Interfaith, there is Jewish and Christian interfaith has gone, but among Muslims, on a serious note, formally this is the first of its kind, at least in Texas. They have happened, but not all the 4 or 5 traditions at one time. And I'm very pleased and thank all of you for being present here to listen to our differences and also what we have in common. Let's give a round of applause to you and all the imams here. We realize this is a pilot project, and we, the panelists and the moderators here, take the serious responsibility to set the tone for a future dialogue in the United States and perhaps around the world. It's never done before. And when we do it, we are going to take the responsibility seriously. And whatever we say, we mean it. And whatever we acknowledge it. And I hope it becomes a benchmark for future dialogues. My role as a moderator of the event is simply to facilitate the panelists to answer some of the easy and some of the tough questions. And now, with the permission of Mike, Boniak Center, and the Rice University, I will begin the program. To begin the program in the Islamic tradition, we start with the first chapter of Quran called Surah Fatiha. I request Mr. Kumanwala to come and recite the first chapter. Let's reflect, wish, and pray. Dear Creator of the universe, please accept our gratitude in every name we call upon you. Manito, Yahweh, Ilahi, Ishwar, Allah, Mahavira, Buddha, Waheguru, Ahura Mazda, Mother Earth, and Jesus Christ. Dear Causer of the universe, in your name, we want to create a cohesive and peaceful Carrollton with care, kindness, and dignity to every one of the 130,000 residents of this beautiful city. Their story. Muslims are happy. They're very happy, rejoicing.
Mike Ghouse is so happy with the news of Osama bin Laden's death. He can hardly contain himself.
This is the biggest news we Muslims have had in about 50 years.
Ghouse is an activist, populist, ambassador for peace, and proponent of religious tolerance. He says this is a day Muslims will cherish and foster improved Muslim-American relations.
It will take some of the heat off that Muslims didn't like this guy as much as other people didn't, because he has done more harm to Muslims and their religion than anyone else ever in the history of mankind.
Ghouse says burying the body at sea was a good move.
If he was buried somewhere on the ground, somebody would have made a shrine out of it, which would have been even.
Upon declaration of our independence on July 4, 1776, two of the first three religious or the world leaders that recognized United States of America were Muslims. Two of the three first people to recognize were Muslims. One was the King of Morocco. The second was Tipu Sultan. He was the King of Mysore in India. And the third one was Netherlands. So the history goes back for a long time. Muslims have been a part of the United States, part of the freedom, and I'm glad those two guys jumped in and recognized and appreciated the freedom United States had achieved on July 4, 1776. Indeed, freedom is one of the most cherished values of humanity. And I'm pleased to share an arrangement of such freedom in Islam and American society in a few words that most of our speakers had already shared. The first part of the program is pluralism in Islam. And let me stand up and talk about that. It makes it easy for me. I believe Islam is pluralism. Let me define what pluralism is first. Pluralism is respecting the otherness of others. You are who you are, I am who I am. God has created me to be as unique as you are, and learning to respect and accept that is essentially pluralism. I will quote a few references from Quran and a few practices of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to support what I'm talking about. We, the people of Indian origin, are proud of our democracy and are proud of our inherent secular ideals. The ideals of accepting and respecting every creation of God translated into the most beautiful words, ahimsa and non-violence. That has been our culture for thousands of years, and that has been our history, and that has been our sabhyata. We all have one mother, Mother India. Vande Mataram. All that goodness has come to be attacked. A few extremists are trying to take over the motherland and destroy the respectable human history that we have had for 5,000 years. Thanks to the Supreme Court of India, it has sided with our civilization and has barred the miscreants from destroying our mother. And Ram has won. Bhagwan Ram. Is about Muslims' response to Pastor Terry Jones' planned burning of 3,000 copies of Quran on September 11. Would Muslims follow Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, a mercy to mankind? Pastor Terry Jones is going to burn 3,000 copies of the Quran on September 11 this year. One copy for each American who died at the 9/11 attack. We, the Muslims, thank Pastor Terry Jones for shaking and waking us up to follow the guidelines of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. How are Muslims going to respond to this situation? Muslim Americans are determined to bring a positive change in conflict resolution in the coming generations. God willing, inshallah, Americans together will do what
me tell you why. Way back in September last year, right here on the Fox News, I had warned the Fox News that the posters that Pamela Geller put in the subways was dead wrong and dangerous to fellow Americans. What if a Catholic woman coming out of the church, or a Muslim woman, or a Hindu woman coming out, that could be attacked and harassed? And it did happen. A Hindu was killed in the subway train because of those posters.
No, I'm sure a lot of things are going to happen, but I mean, yeah, these are wanted terrorists, global terrorists. They happen to be mostly Islamic, and that's just the.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम जनाब, भाई और बहनों, इस वक्त मैं आपसे अमेरिका में जो होने वाला है उसके बारे में बता रहा हूँ। सितंबर 11 के दिन पास्टर टेरी जोन्स साहब इस मुल्क में एक शहर मलबरी है जो छोटा सा फ्लोरिडा स्टेट में, वहाँ पे 2,998 कापी कुरान की जलाएंगे। आपके जहन में बात ये आ रही होगी कि अमेरिका के मुसलमान इस बारे में क्या कर रहे हैं, वहाँ की हुकूमत क्या कर रही है। तो इसके 3 रवैये हो सकते हैं। सबसे पहला रवैया गुस्से का होता है, हम गुस्सा कर सकते हैं, इस पे मार धाड़ की बात कर सकते हैं, सब कुछ कर सकते हैं। दूसरा रवैया इत्तेदाल का होता है, वो ये कि हमको किस तरह इसको रोका जाए, किस तरह रोक सकते हैं। और तीसरा, अमेरिकी हुकूमत इसके बारे में क्या कहती है। तो मैं ये बताना चाह रहा हूँ कि हमारा जो दस्तूर है, कानून है, इसमें दर्ज है कि
Salam, Shalom, Peace, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Allah Abo, and
Jai Janendra.
Jai Janendra.
Hamzor Hama Ashobed. We are with American Muslim Institution and also with Adams Center. And the significance of this event is Muslims and Christians form about half of the world population. And it puts an obligation on us to create a better world for all of us. And it is our responsibility. And this is the beginning where we can celebrate. It's a blessing. It's an auspicious occasion that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his birthday and Jesus' birthday have fallen at the same time. And what better time to start an event like this where people can come together and celebrate their birthdays. These two men, Jesus and Muhammad, have done so much to the world to create a better world for us, and this is an auspicious occasion, and that's what we are doing, and that is the significance of the event. We made history at the footsteps of the Lincoln Memorial. It's never happened before. This is the first time, and inshallah, God willing, there is more to come, more to do, and we as people have to take this step. Islam is a universal faith, like all other faiths, that has embraced every race, ethnicity, religion. The purpose of all religions, if you look at the history of Moses, Zoroaster, Krishna, Buddha, Mahavira, Muhammad, they came into a time in a society when there was a disorder in the society. Nobody trusted each other. There was a chaotic living going for them. So these guys were chosen by God, or they emerge from among themselves, as Lord Krishna says, to bring a social order, bring a society to a place where each one can trust each other and live without the fear of the other. That is the background for most of the religions. Yet, at this juncture, in the name of religion, a lot of things have happened, but as a civilized society, we need not blame the religion. It is always the individual that makes wrong things, and sometimes with followers, they can create a lot of havoc. Religion is not to be blamed, it is the individuals. If I do something wrong, it's me that goes to jail, not my parents, not the mayor of Houston, or not my country, or my religion, or my imam. Keeping those in mind, I'm coming to the dialogue. This evening is about dialogue. I want to share a sentence by one of my favorite authors who wrote extensively on what a dialogue ought to be. It is Rabbi Gordis. He was ordained as a rabbi at the Theological Seminary in New York. He says, dialogue only has meaning if it respects the autonomy of the other. Absent that respect, we have a monologue. In a dialogue we're going to conduct now, each one is going to listen to the other, not have a conflicting idea. Whatever the imam is saying, I have a better idea. My tradition has a better thing. If we are in conflict, dialogue never happens. Dialogue involves both listening and talking, and listening to each other and sharing and updating ourselves with information. In Quran, there is a beautiful chapter that I talk about on conducting a civil dialogue, Surah Kafirun. The most beautiful thing about that surah, I will actually read the chapters, chapter 109. It says, O you who deny the truth, and this is a very beautiful thing, I do not worship that which you worship, and neither do you worship that I worship. I will not worship that which you have worshipped, and neither you will worship that I have worshipped. It is one of the most beautiful format of conducting a civil dialogue. And it concludes, unto you, your moral law, unto me is my moral law. In this beautiful chapter, what God is teaching us is when you conduct a dialogue, be respectful of the other. It says, I don't worship what you worship. It has never said, I don't worship, your worship is something inferior than mine. Mine is superior. There is no word like that. It puts the other person on an equal pedestal. That is what we hope to achieve today, to put each one of us on an equal pedestal and share some good dialogue from there. Israel and Palestinians, Israelis and the Palestinians have been there for the last 64 years. When the leadership of Israel addresses the other people, they address them as the Palestinians. And when the Palestinians address the other, they address them as Israelis. So they're talking between Israelis and Palestinians. They exist. No need to acknowledge, no need to drop them from the heavens. They are there. They've been there. So what is the problem in acknowledging it or recognizing it at the United Nations? All they have to do is let the world know that the Palestinians exist as they have been talking, and vote for yes. I hope Prime Minister Netanyahu asks the ambassador of Israel to be the first one to vote yes for Palestine. It will open up whole new doors of cooperation, acknowledgement, recognition. It will open the goodwill. It will nurture the goodwill. I hope they do that. Do you see a problem in recognizing Israel and Palestine? Share you in a nutshell about the conference on December 5, the Quran conference. In a nutshell, we're going to pull all the
terrifying passages of Quran, maybe 25 or 30. We'll put them all on the screen. And through audience participation, we are going to narrow down to 10 verses, words or phrases or sentences from Quran that seem to bother some people. We're going to narrow it down to 10 so we can do it all in 2 hours' time. That is all we want to do. And we will have 10 panelists sitting across the table, from the Baptist minister to the Catholic bishop to the Mormon president and Presbyterian, Methodist, Hindu, Sikh, and we're trying to get 10 different denominations. And I do hope that many programs, for example, Desi Thanksgiving, we started out with Thanksgiving in 1993. It's been about 16 years now. It used to be called Desi Thanksgiving. The idea is so many of us come to America and we don't know a whole lot about America. We don't know what we do on Thanksgiving. So it started in my backyard out in Richardson, and I had 3 grills. One for some of my Christian friends where we grill pork, and some for beef and the chicken, and for my vegetarian friends we had a complete vegetarian. We had to show respect to each one's sentiments. We cooked food differently. It started and started learning about Thanksgiving. Now, thank God, it is a big event called Thanksgiving, where we bring people from every tradition. Native Americans is always number one because it is their land. And then we add 4 more cultural dances, including India because it's my country. Then we add 3 more like Czechoslovakia, Taiwan, or Philippines, or Brazil. We add about 5 dances to bring diversity so we can learn. Mine is not the only way in life. There are other ways of people enjoying it. Then we started a program called Unity Day. I'm very blessed and proud to share. Hopefully in a year or 2, it's going to become a national day like Mother's Day, Father's Day. It's not a holiday, a day designated to celebrate unity. It is about 9/11. Instead of being divisive on that day, we thought, why not come together and be as one people? And we make efforts to bring everyone from every faith tradition, from atheists to Zoroastrians, and everyone in between, from white, African American, Desi, Chinese, all races. We go out and reach to bring everybody in so all of us can rededicate our pledge to one nation under the sky or under God, whoever wants to take whatever. That way, a sense of unity occurs with diversity. That's a beautiful event. And I've been talking to some congressmen. I do hope it will become a national day, and it would be a very proud moment for me to initiate that as an Indian and as a Muslim from India. It's a good initiative to bring people together. Then we have another event called the Holocaust and Genocides events. It's a long story, but given the time, I'll make it short. All of us are related to somebody or the other. Someone in my family, somebody from my land, somebody in my continent has done wrong to other people. There is no exception. Everyone has done wrong. It is time that we acknowledge the wrongness of every one of us and come together with a commitment that we're going to find solutions. We're not going to harp on what happened in the past, but learn from that history and figure out how can we prevent that from happening. That event is about that. In there, we talked about from Holocaust, the main event, to genocides, including Jallianwala Bagh, to the massacres and uprooting of the Kashmiri Pandits and what happened in Gujarat. We talk about the human suffering, not a political event, but about human suffering, how we as humans can make everybody's life better. Let me make a statement. I cannot be at peace. I cannot be secure when people who surround me are not secure. It is in my interest to see that everyone around me is secure. When they are secure. अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आजकल इंटरफेथ की बात बहुत हो रही है, हर जगह, हर मजहब की बात।
इंटरफेथ होता क्या है?
इंटरफेथ माने ये एक दूसरे मजहब से मिलजुल कर बैठ के बात करना।
लेकिन हमारे मुल्क में, पाकिस्तान में, तो अगर मैं किसी को कहता हूँ कि यार संडे वाले दिन चर्च चले जाया करो, जाके बैठो सुनो वो क्या कह रहा है, तो लोग कहते नहीं ये गैर शरई काम है, आप तो लोगों को क्रिश्चियन बना रहे हैं। तो ये क्या सही है या गैर मजहबी है ये काम?
सबसे पहले देखिए, इस्लाम के बानी हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, प्रॉफेट मोहम्मद, सबसे पहला दुनिया में जिस इंसान ने इंटरफेथ शुरू किया, यानी दूसरे मज़हब के लोगों से बैठ के बात करना, हुजूर थे। अब ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम को देखें, उनके ज़माने में सिर्फ एक मज़हब था, यहूदी का, तो दूसरे मज़हब से बात करने का मौका नहीं मिला उनको, ना ही मूसा अलैहिस्सलाम को मिला। अगर इंडिया में देखें, कृष्ण को देखें, बुद्ध को देखें और किसी और को भी देखें, उनका वही मज़हब था, उस वक्त किसी को बात करने का मौका नहीं मिला था। हुजूर के ज़माने में यहूदी मज़हब था, ईसाई थे, फिर पेगन्स थे, सब थे। हुजूर ने सबको मिला के डिस्कशंस, बाकायदा डिस्कशंस करते थे, उसके रूल्स भी बड़े अच्छे बनाए थे उन्होंने। आप देखें मस्जिद नबवी में एक बहुत बड़ी कहानी जो काफी मशहूर है। द क्रिएटर गॉड gave us a mind to figure out where the balance is lost, how we can fix it back. For example, the human body is another example of a balance. If you eat correctly, breathe correctly, you can live healthy. If you mess up with what you intake, liquid, food, and breathing, you mess up your body, you mess up your health, you pay in terms of that. Now, coming back to the animal versus human. In animals, God, when He created each item, matter or life, to be very unique. Each one of us human beings, there are 7 billion of us, and each one has got our own thumbprint, eye print, DNA, taste bud. We are created to be very unique. When so much uniqueness is created, there is ought to be conflicts. And how do you resolve the conflicts? With animals, what God did, or the Creator did, or the process did, was give them horns, fangs, or paws, and God said, you guys fight.